Welcome,
Oh,
everybody. Welcome to the big show. We are back, another episode on Monday. Jay Lee will be here for those of you who are concerned about his health. We did not beat him to death, nor did we put him
no.
into prison or, sweatshop. He's not
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
He's not in the sweatshop making Nikes.
No, he's
yeah.
not.
He's not.
He's too old.
Not yet.
Uh, he's out.
Not
He's
yet.
out. He's outlived his usefulness as a kid. But he will
Yeah.
be here. He's just going to be a little late, and we will be talking about the stabbing of Mr. Chauvin. Got some interesting information for you, so stay tuned. Don't go too far away. I mean, I guess you can go to the bathroom. We'll let you do that, but that's as far as you go. Okay, no further than the bathroom. If you leave any further than
Depends.
that, we'll tag your phone. Okay.
Put your
So-
depends on.
Yes, make sure. So we'll be right
Put your
back.
adult
Don't go
diapers
anywhere.
on.
All right. So Mr. Chauvin was stabbed
Yeah.
22 times.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's a
guy
lot.
said he didn't want to kill him. That was not his intent.
Yeah.
So
I read a conflicting report about that. The other report I read is that he did it because he wanted to do it to he did it on the day to symbolize Black Lives
Black
Matter.
Friday,
Yeah.
Black Friday.
Yeah. It's the whole story. Makes no sense. Like
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
him in general, it makes no sense. His whole background makes no sense.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But
Was
I
he
know
the-
we're gonna go. I know we're gonna go into it, but it's
crazy.
You
Was he the
guys
dude
got to
white
tell us
too?
what you think. Yeah, we'll get into all. Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
They're not really. They gave a name.
They gave a
Okay?
name.
I highly doubt that the guy is black based on the name. However,
It doesn't sound black enough.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. His name is John Tursak or
I know what he looks like.
Tursac.
Yeah,
Tursak.
I know what he
Tursak.
looks like.
Turskac. No, Turskac.
Mm.
Yeah.
Tursak?
So you remember the episode about the Bentley crashing? Remember the old white guy you showed?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's who he looked like.
That's what he looked like.
But I'm
I'm
yet to see
dead
a
serious.
mugshot. I yet to see a mugshot of him.
Hold on now.
The picture
Let me
that I
look.
saw I think what you're talking about is a fake picture. That's
No,
not
yeah.
him.
But the
Not him.
name,
He's not of age.
yeah, the name
Mhm.
and the background.
So here's what I found out. Okay. Yes, here's what I found out. The person that they're talking about that's in the same system that Mr. Chauvin is in only had the person that they're talking about, that they say is the guy, only had 3 years left on his sentence. Okay, so he had 3 years left on his sentence and decided to stab Mr. Chauvin. Now he's looking at another 20.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
However, the guy that they're talking about also has a extensive mafia record.
Mhm.
And when you look for him, he's at a different outfit. He's in a different prison
Yeah.
than Chauvin was. So there's a conflict of location, one, and a conflict of probably a different person that they're reporting versus who actually did the stabbing. So there is conflict there. And then the mere fact that he's an FBI agent, and we're never putting anything past the FBI. This is why I think this was an inside thing to try and stoke another racial divide.
Mhm.
The reason why they haven't released anything is because they're still formulating the full story of how they're going to get the media coordinated with what the information is going to be.
Mhm.
I don't think for a minute that the guy exists the way they say he does. And
don't
they'll
either.
probably pull an Epstein where he ends up being either incarcerated for life or prison sentence where he gets killed, and the guy will get a get out of jail free card in 3 years, like his sentence says, and he'll go into witness protection.
Yeah, and the funny thing about the stabbing, from what I read, is that the FBI came in and actually investigated the stabbing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Why would the FBI come and investigate this?"
Because it's a federal prison.
But that's outside of the FBI's jurisdiction. It has
You
nothing
would
to do with
think.
the FBI. It is,
But I'm just saying, like, that would be the legitimacy. They would say it's like because it's a federal prison. So.
and it's
Wouldn't
still
they
outside
normally
their
only investigate it if it was something to do with governmental issues?
Yes.
Okay.
You would think.
I mean, stabbings happen all the time in those type of places in a federal prison. I haven't heard of FBI investigating anything, but the FBI investigated this one.
So
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, like, the summarizer on Brave browser is giving me like the AI generation where it like skims all the articles and puts up a little summary.
Mhm.
It's saying that John Tursak is a former member of the Mexican mafia gang.
Yes.
Like a Mexican
Yes.
mafia.
Head, one of the
So
former heads.
and now here's what's funny. So in these federal prisons, and if you worked in it, well, I'm the only one that's worked in a jail system, but it's known, not it's knowledge that everyone is separated by race. Correct. So you got the black guys over here, whites, Hispanics. So this is a white guy from, I forget what European country. He was part of the Mexican mafia. He was part of the Mexican mafia, but he stabbed a white guy to pay homage to the murder of a black guy.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? So a white guy in the Mexican mafia stabbed a black guy or stabbed a white guy to pay homage to the death of a black guy. That's like some Twilight Zone stuff in the prison system.
Yeah.
Won't happen.
That doesn't normally happen.
No, it doesn't. My biggest thing is that he does not seem to fit the bill for even the Mexican mafia.
Oh.
Okay,
I'm trying to find what he looks like.
Let's start there. Okay, so the name, two, the location of where he was a former gang leader and one-time FBI informant. Now, okay, if you know anything, and this is the other part, if I understand that there are anomalies in the Mexican gangs where there are probably some informants that get away. But for you to be an informant in a top Mexican gang and cartel, by the way, to be an FBI informant and made it to prison for a certain length of time, and you're not like in witness protection while in there, but
or
you
dead.
Come on now. Come on now. Come on.
Yeah, so I just saw that as like John Tursak, a former member of the Mexican mafia who served as an FBI informant, is accused of stabbing Chauvin on November 24th. It's like he's an FBI informant in federal prison who was part of the Mexican mafia. They're not saying cartel, they said Mexican mafia. Is there a difference? Like really? No. Like are we saying we're saying mafia instead of cartel? Because like which cartel did he belong to?
They're the same.
Yeah. So like they don't choose their words
poorly
without meaning something, right? So like instead of saying cartel, they say mafia. They're trying to keep it away from cartel. Right, which is that's just what it is. The only people that are controlling the Mexican drug trade are the cartels.
Period.
No mafia. There's not any mafia, because like when people picture mafia, they think, oh, maybe it's a local thing, right? It's a local mafia. Like it's like the Italians, it's no big deal. It's just some guy.
Could it be because they know his race and mafia would be easier to sell? You see, if he was Hispanic, they could say cartel and you'd believe it. But because he's white and you could put mafia, and most people associate mafia with Italians. He could easily pass for, mafia. Okay, let's be honest, people are stupid. Okay, we know that the community as we know it today are dumber than normal. Okay, this is not back in the 90s or in the 80s. Yes, we had stupid people back then, but it was not as pervasive as it is now. People actually would hear something like that don't sound right. Today they'd be like, oh yeah, I believe that. So I can see them using a certain term to try and pass that over. Now don't forget, the FBI is the same one that tackled J6. Okay. So they're very versed in framing people and things with certain words and certain phrases. This is not abnormal for them. This is par for the course. But the mere fact that you have two separate records for the guy with the same name in two different prisons in Arizona, and one was at Chauvin's place and one was not, gives me pause. Because I think what you'll end up seeing happening is that you will hear the news saying that he was this, he was that. They won't have a public hearing about it because, of course, it happened in prison. So there wouldn't be no court hearing to happen. They'll just issue their ruling because it'll be something he'll do on it. And he will never he'll be out in 3 years either way, and he'll enter witness protection and they'll try again. I think the intent was to kill Chauvin. I think he just failed. I think they didn't expect Chauvin to survive the 22 stabs. But I think he will. The fact that he made it through, you'll see another attempt on him before too long.
Now that you say that, something that came to mind is, for one, like you said, the FBI is known to create things that aren't real. You got to go over back to JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald, and all this stuff. So they haven't put a picture out or a photo out of this guy, and they're not. And the reason they're saying they're not, because they're going to say what? Because he's pretty much in protective custody because of his ties to the Mexican mafia. So we'll never see who this guy is.
Yeah.
We'll never see it. So it's easy for them. They can make up any name they want. They can tie it to somebody they can do that. because they're never going to show the picture of the guy. They can call him freaking, Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka stabbed, Derrick Chauvin. Can we see a picture of Willy? Well, he's in protective custody, so we can't show you what he looks like.
Okay.
So to me, it just sounds fishy. And I don't, for one, Derrick Chauvin would be in protective custody from me working in a jail. Anybody who's any type of former law enforcement, any type of government official, anything to where your life had the possibility of being in danger. A lot of law enforcement get arrested. You're a target. So you are in protective custody. Protective custody means that you're not around any other inmates, period. When it's time for your rec time or your day room time, you come out by yourself. You go back by yourself. You're never around anyone. Now, there may be people in the same pod as you, but you never come out at the same time. So it's kind of fishy knowing that he was a high-profile guy, a high-profile case, that he would be out with another inmate.
Yeah.
With the possibility of something like this happening. This is why it doesn't make sense.
Okay, tell me if this makes sense. This is what they're saying now too, okay? That they moved him, the guy, the one that did the stabbing. Listen carefully to this. Tell me if this makes any sense. They took the guy who did the stabbing from one location to the other location, hence why they have two different records, right?
Yeah.
So they moved the one that did the stabbing to a separate facility, but not Chauvin.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to why they couldn't just like move him to solitary confinement and leave him there.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably could have, which he probably should be because he just stabbed somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really a solitary confinement, but
or at least isolated.
For him to be, there is isolation.
Yeah.
For him to be, both of them high profiles. You got to consider the other guy that supposedly did it. He's high profile too. They're both high profile people. For them to be in the same space in a federal prison is crazy.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't even happen at county. County, whenever we get whenever we got high profile people in there, whether they be celebrities, law enforcement, politicians, they never was seen. You didn't see them. The other inmates didn't know they were there half the time, unless it leaked out. But you never saw them in a space with someone else because of their status. So this just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And here's the other thing. So I was looking this up. So this guy's been the guy that stabbed Chauvin has been in prison since 2001, right? He's been serving a 30-year sentence for racketeering and a couple other things. What was it? Racketeering and something else. Anyway, so the gang that he's a part of, this is coming from the Justice Department themselves, right? So we'll go with governmental sources.
Because that's very
you bring this up. Yeah, because it's true, right? It's true. So coming from governmental sources, the Mexican Mafia is a prison gang that was established in the late 50s within the California Department of Corrections, right? So the gang that they're mentioning is not what he was attached to, but the prison gang that they have been investigating. The FBI has been investigating. So he goes into prison in 2001. He becomes an informant in prison to the FBI. And he's been under the FBI's jurisdiction probably sometime between the 2001 and now. He's been an informant for the FBI in prison.
None of that makes sense.
We don't know what he did before 2001 because they're not saying it. Right? Why was he charged with racketeering? Who was he a part of? Was he a part of the cartels? Who was he working with? Who was he? Right? We don't know. But we know from 2001 to now, he's been an FBI informant maybe the entire time, infiltrating the Mexican Mafia in the prison system.
Okay,
right?
That's not, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, does it?
Unless this guy completely looks the part of a Mexican that has been through rough times, he would not have been accepted into a prison mafia gang.
But that's what they're claiming.
The low level he probably would have been at would be the bottom of the bottom, the one getting all of the bend over time. That might be him. That might be him. He might have been used as a female, but there is no way he would become a high ranking anything in the Mexican mafia in prison. I don't know a whole lot about the prison system, but I do know how specific they are with their people in prison.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they
so
ain't gonna
here,
just let some random white dude do that. Come on, man. People.
and here's the worst part about it is this section right here. Tersak stated that his attack on Derrick Chauvin on Friday was symbolic with the Black Lives Matter because of the black hand symbol associated with the Mexican mafia criminal organization.
What? That don't even make no sense.
That's what he's claiming. That's what this dude is claiming.
What intern came up with this story? They was like, "Hey, Ricky, come up with a good story for this." Okay, I got you, boss. Just like, what the heck? This
Oh yeah, it was
no sense.
racketeering and conspiring to commit murder. So the guy's not a stranger to trying to kill people.
All right, so this guy should have a picture somewhere, unless they wipe the internet of it. Yeah. This is why they could be making this stuff up, man. And you know how we are. They could be making this name up. You know how easy it is. Think about how easy it is for the federal government to put someone's name in a database in a private prison. Hey, put this guy's name in your system.
Yeah.
The guy shows up in the system. Doesn't mean he's there, though. Doesn't mean the body's there. So it's so easy. So for it being an inside job is a little more believable because it could have easily been an agent. And look how many times look how many times these TV shows that come out that put these actors in prison. Do you ever see that in those reality shows where these people are in prison and they're trying to play along? How hard would it be for an agent to get thrown in there? And do his due, and then they get him up out of there. But they tied the name to another name somewhere else, so they can't. It'll be hard for them to put everything together.
Oh, that's wrong.
So that name may be a real name. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But the person that did it's not that name. This is probably someone totally different. This is why you found out that this guy wasn't even part of that prison. And prison doesn't work like that. You don't just get to be in this prison and then you just pop up in this prison. It doesn't work like that.
So check this out. This is Los Angeles Times. Check the date. November 27th, 2001.
And he's already an informant.
He was an informant since 1997.
Indictment for more than 40 alleged Mexican mafia associates.
This dude ratted on 40 different members of the Mexican mafia and didn't die in prison that entire time. He's been in jail since 2001. This dude has been in jail for well over 20 years.
I could see why he wouldn't get killed because he's protected, which is why it makes sense that they get somebody who they okay, you can't listen to this. He's a protected guy. That this much is proven by who he ratted on and the fact that he's still alive. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So you pick a guy to do the deed that you know can't be touched. Not by law because he has a deal, not by the government, can't be touched because he has a deal with them. He can't be touched. So he can easily just slip out the back door, move him. So they moved him to a separate prison, and I guarantee that might be the rest of his punishment right there. He's in a different prison. Problem solved. Chauvin lived. Just forget it, guys. I mean, we were charging him for attempted murder, but he's not going to actually get convicted of this, like, at all. That's crazy.
This is another shiny object. It'll disappear, like we say every other major headline that they throw in our face. They're talking about it. This will disappear out the news, and we'll be moving on to the next one. Now, the only thing that I haven't heard is the status of Derrick Chauvin, if he was stabbed. You know what I mean? Because, the way my conspiracy mind works, right? From the moment that happened with Derrick Chauvin and what's his name? What's the guy that he supposedly killed? Dang,
Floyd.
I just had a brain. Floyd.
George Floyd?
Yeah, Floyd. Yeah. George Floyd. From the very beginning of that case, it didn't look right. You remember the initial picture or like the initial video of Derrick Chauvin, and they showed him like
two different men
on the back. Yeah. It was like two different guys, right? So what if this is just part of their little playbook, Derrick Chauvin? So we got to find a way to make him disappear. We'll just say they stabbed him 22 times. Then we get on there and say he died, and you, guy, the fall guy, you just disappear and go on about your life. You know what I mean? Because this whole thing is fishy. Even with his autopsy report coming out, everything is just not working in the favor of the story now. So they got to find a way to remove him without making a big deal. You know what I mean? Like,
So
okay,
is this a lie produces another lie, but you can't keep track of the first lie that started the lie chain, so you got to keep
yeah,
lying
right.
individual. It's got to become more elaborate every time.
it's got to become more elaborate. But to me, it makes sense because those of us that have looked at things, with the correct lenses in our eyes, we saw the initial video, and then we saw the mug shot, and most of us were like, "I don't even look like him. It doesn't even look like the same person."
Yeah.
So they go through this whole trial. They put him in jail. They say, "Hey, people are finding out. We're going to end this. We're going to say you died of wounds, and then we're just going to get you up out of here, and you're going to disappear."
Okay, I'll show you something. Someone sent this to me and said this might be the guy. Now, if this is the guy, it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by that. Hang on one second.
I wonder if it's the fake photo that's been going around, because
the fat white dude. No,
Yeah,
it's a different guy.
What is this one?
This is the guy. The picture of the one they sent me. Okay, now with this face, I could see him passing for it, but look at his clothing in the picture. Okay, just that's all I'm asking is to look at it's small, but look at his clothing. Unless this was taken of him before at his sentencing, where would they have gotten this picture?
It's an old picture, maybe.
Hmm?
It's an old picture, maybe.
If it is an old picture, right, and he's supposed to be in his 50s now, that's what they're saying, right? Does this look like, okay? And if let's just say he does pass for somebody Mexican, okay, he still doesn't, in my opinion. He's still not on that level yet. But if he does, and he does manage to say, okay, fine, there's something wrong with the picture, because if this is him, how long has it been now? 2001 to 21. That's what, 20 years. So 22 years passed. I'm not sure I can trust this picture as him either.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
looks pretty fresh for a 22-year-old picture.
Yeah, pretty fresh.
This
is the charging documents, by the way. This is what they're this is the official documentation of what the FBI is claiming happened. So on or about November 24th, 2023, at approximately 2:30 or 12:30, at the Federal Corrections Institution, Tucson. By the way, in his sentencing, he wasn't even supposed to be in Tucson. They sent him to Tucson on purpose. Right? So that's another part of this whole situation
before
that we got going
investigation. Before any investigation, you just send him to another facility.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so during sentencing, he was supposed to go to one place.
Where was this initial charges at? What state?
It was, what was it, Michigan? Or was it Illinois? I don't remember. It was one of those two. Anyway, it was up north. He was supposed to be closer to his family at another federal penitentiary, but the judge was like, "Nah, you're getting sent to Tucson." Like, they purposely sent him to Tucson for a reason. Maybe that's it. Anyway, so and on land acquired for the use of the United States under the yada yada. Let's see, where is he? Previously convicted of federal crimes in another district. He was in Facilities Law Library. Another inmate, John Tursak, attacked Derrick Chauvin with an improvised knife, stabbing Chauvin 22 times, causing serious bodily injury. The federal corrections officers immediately responded to the assault and deployed OC spray to subdue him. Let's see. Tursak told the corrections officers that would have killed Derrick Chauvin, and they had they not responded so quickly. After Tursak waived his constitutional Miranda rights, FBI agents interviewed him on November 26th. At the time, Tursak denied wanting to kill Derrick Chauvin. However, Tursak stated that he had been thinking about assaulting Derrick Chauvin for approximately 1 month because Derrick Chauvin is a high-profile inmate. Tursak stated he saw an opportunity to assault Derrick Chauvin in the law library on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving Day, commonly known as Black Friday. Tursak stated that he attacked Derrick Chauvin on Black Friday as a symbolic, so the same thing about the black hand and whatnot. So that's what they're still, this is what the whole thing that they're claiming is why he did what he did. Yeah. After being sent to a place he wasn't supposed to be, right? Chauvin was sent to Tucson when he wasn't supposed to be. And this guy wasn't supposed to be there, but he was. I mean, it's just a meet cute, man. Like, if this was a rom-com, it would be perfect. You know, just unlikely lovers coming together in the library.
his initial charges were for racketeering. That's what he was put in federal prison for, right?
Racketeering and attempted murder.
All right, so racketeering and attempted murder up north in a whole nother state where the crimes were actually committed.
No. Chauvin was from
not Chauvin.
Yeah, no, I don't know where he originally came. I think he came originally from California, so that's why he was in Tucson. Chauvin came from the north and was purposely sent to Tucson by the judge. The family originally had asked if he could be sent somewhere else, and they almost had an agreement with that between the lawyers and the prosecutors, and the judge said no, he's getting sent to Tucson.
This whole thing makes no sense. I'm getting these Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, right. It's like there's too many questions of like, why would you do that? Why is that happening?
It just makes no sense. How long ago did Chauvin get a sentence? How many years
2020,
ago?
right? He got sentenced in 2021, right?
Yeah, it was just recently.
Yeah.
I think it was like not even a year ago. I'll have to look it up.
I thought it was 21 that he got sentenced.
Mm-hmm.
The incident happened in 2020.
Yeah, so on June 25th, 2021, Derrick Chauvin sentenced to 22 and a half years in death of George Floyd. That's what the CNN article saying.
So he's been in there 2 years, right?
So 2 years. He was sentenced to 22 years. And how many years did that other guy do?
He had 30 on his docket, but
he was almost done.
Yeah.
So he had 27 years. Okay.
Yeah, he was almost done though.
Which is why I don't understand why you would take a chance like that. But
clout chasing, maybe virtue signaling
for what?
No, there was no reason.
He's purchased.
There is
the savior of the black community, the guy that stood up for the dead George Floyd guy, hero to the black.
Yeah, but
community.
you won't get out to enjoy the celebrity.
No.
Yeah, because he's going to be in there until he dies now.
Another 20. So he'll be 70 by the time he gets out.
But he's been
be out there protesting.
He's been an FBI informant since 97 too. Like, I don't know if you heard that part, Lee.
Yeah,
but this dude's been an informant for the FBI since 1997.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This whole story just makes no sense.
Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's go back to what Coy just said. Something just smacked me really hard here. He's an informant since 97. But he got sentenced in 2001 for crimes he committed while an FBI informant. That's what you want me to believe. So as an informant, you still got 20 years for attempted murder and racketeering when you were an informant in a regime that was predominantly racketeering and murder.
Yes.
And nope.
Now, and also, if you think about an informant, if you're an inside guy, you're undercover per se. A lot of the stuff that you have to do to keep from breaking character, why would they charge you for that if he did it while being an informant? Because
that's my point.
You know what I mean? Because certain things you would have to do, or you don't have a choice. And I think as an informant, they understand that. So if you had to do something, or if he was helping responsible for that, why would they give him that much time when he was doing something for the FBI?
Thank you. I don't buy that at all either. I think that's all part of the story.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, the creation of dates and times are easy for them to do.
Yeah.
Okay. This is simple work. Put out documentation for you to find that he was this way back then and that, and a court document we can put. Heck, they photoshopped Obama's birth certificate, for crying out loud, and people believed it. So let's analyze this as skeptics. Okay, you get punished for doing what the FBI told you to do. You get sent to a prison, and then all of a sudden you just feel this righteous indignation for a man you've never met. You only found out about while you were in prison. You don't, and you support Black Lives Matter being part of a Mexican mafia while supporting the FBI, which is unheard of. And then you decide to do that after only having 3 years of your sentence left, and you felt righteous enough to forego the next 3 years of your life for 20. I'm sorry to say, but none of that seems plausible, believable, or even within the realm of reason for someone to even do, much less exist. Like,
Well,
it doesn't make sense to me. None of this makes sense.
well, I mean, bigger. I would argue bigger payout and a change in your entire identity. FBI informant, right?
I could see that too. I could see him getting, okay, do it, and you won't see prison time anymore. We'll make this go away. You won't be heard from again. You're in another prison system now. We'll act like the case goes on. We'll say you got time, and in your 3 years' time from that other prison, since no one's checking that one because Chauvin's at the other one, we'll release you and release you into protective custody, and you can live the rest of your life after doing what we wanted you to do.
Exactly.
I can see that.
It just doesn't seem right, man. I foresee them saying that Derrick Chauvin died of injuries and it just disappearing. I don't think this happened, man. I don't. But again, Derrick Chauvin being high profile, that guy being high profile, being an FBI informant, and general population pretty much around each other. It makes no sense. It really does. None. It makes no sense at all. I don't know. We'll see. 22 times, stabbed 22 times.
Yeah. And he's already, this is just like 10 hours ago. They've already released him back into Gen Pop after getting stabbed.
Chauvin?
Yeah.
Amazing. He's already released.
Critically damaged, right? But he's back in General Pop.
22 times.
Yeah. Because he can defend himself now.
Oh,
yeah.
And wasn't it, well, you know, and not saying that all law enforcement officers can fight, but, you know, we did take something called defensive tactics. Wouldn't you think, like, he would be able to defend himself a little more? You know what I mean? Like, somebody rolling up on him, you think somebody's just going to stab him 22 times? Not saying, you know, he's the toughest guy, but he is trained. I just don't see it. I don't get your story right.
Yeah,
3-letter agency.
This is an interesting quote from this article about Chauvin's being released back in here. I think it's perfectly kind of sums up our questions too. It remains a mystery how the perpetrator was able to obtain and possess dangerous materials that were able to be formed into an improvised knife, and how the guard was unable to reach and apprehend the perpetrator until Derrick had been stabbed 22 times. This is the lawyer for the family, by the way. So why was Derrick allowed into the law library without a guard in close enough proximity to stop a possible attack?
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
the family continues to wonder.
Like, you can even track it with this logic. Like, why was there a technical malfunction, and the guards not happen to be there right when Epstein Hillaried himself?
I mean, I'm putting into from experience. All right. So guys like that, say Chauvin, if he wanted reading materials, usually the officers would roll out a cart full of books. They'd roll it to a cell and let him pick whatever books he wanted to pick out. They wouldn't take you to the library around other inmates, just like the article said. They wouldn't do that. They would not do that. He's in something called protective custody. Protective custody means you are around no one. You are everywhere by yourself. You are nowhere in eyesight. Well, you might be in eyesight, but you're nowhere physical where, you know, someone can physically come at you. If you're out, the other inmates are in. When you're in a hallway, the other inmates are nowhere around you.
Oh, it was Minnesota.
So it makes no sense for him being in a library, high-profile guy around another high-profile guy, and there's no officers standing over their shoulders watching them at that moment. So it just makes no sense.
And it hasn't happened before. He's been in there almost 2 years, about 2 years now, right? 2 years. Okay, so you've been in prison around black people for 2 years. Black people who actually have a dog in the fight that really want you gone for what you did to another black person. You're trying to convince me you're trying to convince me that a guy who has no dog in the fight, not even the same race as George Floyd, has no affiliation with any gangs, activities, nothing to do with black people, decide to take it on himself to wipe out somebody, a cop nonetheless, just about 3 years before his prison sentence is up, and not a single Negro in that entire facility tried it. Not one. Not
And-
even a fresh blood who has 20 years left on his sentence. You go, come on, look, man.
Look, you know what normal protocol is too. Whenever you're moving an inmate from one unit to another unit to rec or wherever, if they're moving from their unit and they're going somewhere else away from that unit, you know what's required? Pat downs. You have to pat them down before they leave a unit. They check their pockets, and they only usually have one pocket. You check their pockets, you check their waistline, you check everything, making sure that they don't have any weapons under their tongue everywhere. And then you restrain them. So usually if you're high profile like that, or protective custody or anything like that, a level, which he probably was a level, or Chauvin was probably a level, you're fully restrained. That means even when you get to the library, guess what you are? You're fully restrained and you're patted down. So obviously, if it did happen, an officer wasn't doing his job, or it's all bull crap,
Or it was left in the library on purpose.
or it was a setup left in the library. But regardless, for an inmate, I mean, it's possible, but any inmate that moved from point A to point B outside of the unit has to get patted down. So
it's just, for me, it's just baffling on a whole nother level that the timing, the event that they're trying to do, all of it that happened there around the same time, things were happening in the government that had to do with deals being made, Hamas going back on prisoner exchange, right? All of that happened during the coverage of the stabbing. And now we come to find out that there had been attacks on military ships. All while the media was distracted, or at least the media was trying to distract us with that stabbing.
Exactly.
And nobody's checking the fact that that would be an instant act for America to step into war. But we're distracted with Chauvin stabbing. And I'm not saying we are a distraction, but the whole point of it, why it doesn't make sense, is because they're trying to hide something from you. They do this all the time. Like Mike says, shiny object over here.
Yeah.
And we're like stupid little cats with a little laser beam, jumping on it. And this is another one of those things. Hamas went back under exchange of prisoner POWs, and fire and attacked again, so that the whole war kickstarted again over there, And then you had the U.S. military attacked, and now we're going to be this week. You're going to end up them saying that we're going into war.
Yep.
Because we were attacked. It's a great cover. I have to give them this, even if it wasn't a clean story. No. It did enough to get the media they did enough for the American people to look at it and say, oh my goodness, he got stabbed.
Oh man. You should check out these two articles.
We will when you get back.
Yeah.
I didn't boot him, okay? I didn't boot him. His kids have been messing with his stuff. That's what he gets for having kids.
Yeah. Sorry, my mouse has been going out. Anyway, so there's two things. One is when they moved him, I thought it was hilarious that there's this one line that said, experts said earlier that Chauvin was likely to be safer in the federal system. It typically houses less violent inmates, and he'll be less likely to mix in with inmates that had been arrested or investigated as the
Minneapolis police officer.
Yeah, he's totally going to be safer. And then the Bureau of Prisons spokeswoman declined to detail the circumstances of Chauvin's confinement, citing privacy, safety, and security concerns.
I'm sure.
Of course.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And this other one is really brilliant too.
That's the don't look here, folks. Nothing.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see.
Liam Neeson. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Go home. And everything's on fire behind it.
Look, what all this is telling me is that this George Floyd case and this Derrick Chauvin incident, this fiasco, it's not what they're telling us, man. There's something fishy going on.
So here's another one. Chauvin was sentenced Thursday in U.S. District Court for 21 years on federal civil rights charges following his guilty plea in December. He took a plea deal so that he would be safer. And so he's consecutively serving both the state charges and the federal charges, right? So he got charged for murder in state, but then he got the civil rights violation charge from the feds. That's why he was in the federal prison. So he was in the state prison, and they transferred him to a fed prison. But they sent him to the furthest one they possibly could from his family in Minnesota, right? Like as a punishment. And but this is what the thing is. He did this to avoid a life sentence in the plea agreement, allowed him to avoid the life sentence, and he faced on federal charges and gave him a potential for a safer environment with a bit more freedom.
That's
like going to a library.
Yeah, and look right there in the bottom. Look in the bottom little paragraph. Chauvin, who is white, killed Floyd by pinning the unarmed black man to the pavement with his knee for 9.5 minutes. Just sensationalism.
The time keeps going. Every time I see it too. Like it keeps getting longer.
Yeah.
It used to be
9.5
8:33,
minutes.
wasn't it? 8:33, 8 minutes and 35 seconds, and now it's 9.5.
Well, it doesn't really matter if you choke on a speedball and you overdose. So.
Yeah, I can't breathe. Come on, man. You know they're trying to spin that sensationalism. Still, nothing to see here.
Oh, nothing to see here.
It's all crap, man. They live.
Pay no attention to the fentanyl addict behind the curtain.
The fentanyl man. It's like
I said,
giant bag of cocaine.
Their story is crumbling. It's falling apart. They know it. We know it. So they have to do something to kind of put it back in the spotlight to show that something happened to the guy that did it, to put it back in the spotlight to make him be the villain again, which, who knows if he's the villain or I don't know. But to make him be the villain again, to get that out of people's head that George Floyd actually died of a drug overdose.
Yeah.
So to get that out of their head, it's all mind games, man. Get that out of their head. Let's say Chauvin got stabbed, and right back in people's heads, they forget about the autopsy report.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They just remember what he supposedly did, and their version of justice happened. And you see people on social media praising it. It's crazy.
Well, and that's what I think they're hoping.
Yeah.
Okay, hear me out. Okay, here's what I think they wanted to happen. It didn't really matter who did the stabbing or who tried to off him. Their hope is that they realize, someone tried to off Chauvin. That will give us license to do something like that to somebody else who we see doing something that we deem wrong to someone unarmed and black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you now have given people the license, and watch what happens. He will get a light term, and people are going to realize I can do this and get away with it. And the more I see, the more I'm going to do. What's that going to do? Kickstart more riots. And just in time for what time? All I'm saying is that if you can create the fear, they've already got the thing kicking off in China now. I think it'll be one big cluster of events to make it sure that they have the emergency powers activated. Listen carefully. You have the threat of a lone wolf guy from Hamas on American soil. You have the threat of the new coughing thing happening in China again. Around the same time, this pneumonia thing kicking off, that will come to play here. You have World War III kicking off with the American frigates getting attacked. And then you have the race wars that they're trying to stoke with the immigration happening. I think it'll all come to a head in about 2 months before election's supposed to take place. And they're going to say things are just not safe for anything to take place. And we have to initiate a state of emergency across the United States.
Across the world.
So far, it's lending to the reasoning I thought. I didn't expect this kind of a breakout, but I see a lot of things waiting to fall that will end up negating 2024 from happening, especially they realizing that you can look in Florida. They just had the Democrats down there say they're making sure that no one can write in anybody on the ballot. Now, if they get that passed, if they can manage that on a Democrat ticket, watch the rogue rhinos do the exact same thing for their ticket via the RNC. So you can't write Trump, and even as illegal as it might sound to you people, trust and believe they can make it legal. And when they make it legal, that's it. They know they have it done. Look, I have no fear about what's going to happen because whatever happens, happens. I can't stop it anyway. But that doesn't stop me from being prepared for stupidity, okay?
Yeah.
You're going to have people, they're hoping that if they can do this to Trump, they're hoping that people who are on the right will join in the rioting as well. Once one start kicks off, the other one's going to kick, and they're just going to have one big civil war going on throughout the United States. And that's what they're banking on to crash the entirety of the United States. It's what Soros talked about back in 2012.
Yeah. And, if you think about like that agreement that was signed with the WHO And I think just about every nation agreed to it, right? So
Yeah.
if you go back to where Marlon was talking about riots and race wars and war and this new lung sickness that's coming out of China, the one thing that they agreed with the WHO is that all those things that Marlon just named can be considered a national emergency. They weren't specific on the national emergency. They didn't just say a sickness.
It was
anything deemed a national emergency. The WHO can come in and have sovereignty in America or any other country and take over. What is the one thing that they've been talking about for years that everybody thought it was a conspiracy? The one world government. So this is kind of leaning towards that. This is not only conspiracy, this is biblical too. But so this is one way they can implement a one world government. If all this stuff happens around the world at the same time, sickness here, war here, riots here, and all this craziness is going on, WHO gets the green light, comes in each one of these countries that signed off on it, and does what? They take over. Now the WHO is in charge of the whole world. Once they're in charge, they can do anything they want. So don't fall for it. Tell people don't fall for this tomfoolery. It's all an illusion. It's all an illusion, man.
Okey doke.
Well, Michael, I got a question for you. So how else are we supposed to join the Galactic Federation if we don't like become a one world government? You know, like aliens are real and the signs are here, man.
You can't bring in Darth Vader. You can't bring Darth Vader in yet.
I can't help you join the Galactic Federation. You have to be chosen for that.
I know, right? So this is one of the points I wanted to bring up between Chauvin and what happened during 2020 is that these two people are only getting a $500 fine for burning down an Atlanta Wendy's during the riots, right? Like potentially kill people, causing millions of dollars in damages, just getting no jail time and a $500 fine.
Makes sense.
Justice no longer exists in the United States. If you thought it did, if you could get a fair trial, it all depends on your luck, my friend. It all depends on your luck.
That right there tells me that they can indeed do what I think they can do, which is not give you any prison time if you do kill an officer.
I mean, you look at Illinois. So Illinois just signed something off to where they're going to be releasing like 400 something inmates that were charged with robbery and theft and all that.
Cali did it first.
Yeah,
they're going to release them back into the streets. So they're saying, "Hey, steal."
Cali did it. Okay. Oregon did it. Oregon and Cali did it, and I think Michigan. But there are quite a few that end up doing that exact same thing because they. Look, the amount as much Chicago was the other one that did it too. The amount of chaos that's going to happen, it's off. Look, man, y'all, if y'all ain't ready for it, get ready. Yeah, it's about to go Soviet Union up in here.
Right. There was another case I wanted to mention too, and the same lines of 2020 is the New York couple, the attorneys that only got like 2 years and some probation for firebombing police cars. Like, I'm going to repeat that again. Firebombing police cars doesn't get you more than 2 years and a little bit of probation.
Okay, but how many of them actually served time for the fires that they set outside the courthouse? None.
Yeah, none of those people. What about the two black kids that died in the chop, right? They got shot up by a far leftist with an AK.
Nothing.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody got charged in that.
They have to preserve the chaos.
Yeah, what they're banking on is, say they release all these criminals, these known convicts, these thieves, these swindlers, these bamboozlers, whatever you want to call them, these snakes.
Yeah,
and they're out here robbing people. They go to the wrong house or they start robbing people, and what do you think there's an uptick in? Guns. People are getting shot coming in people's houses.
Yeah.
So now they can say there's an uptick in gun violence. But they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you why there's an uptick in gun violence. They're just going to blame it on some anomaly. And then they're going to be like, we look at all these gun deaths. We need gun legislation. And then the WHO comes in and then Second Amendment null and void. Take all of it.
Yeah. Well, it's an epidemic of gun violence. The wording.
Yeah,
remember?
It's an epidemic.
Yeah.
And what did the WHO say? Anything that's a national emergency or any type of epidemic, gun violence can be one of them. Right. They can come in and
climate change.
Climate change, all of that. People can understand that this new world order, what we're talking about, isn't something new. They've been planning this for years. I think it was first mentioned by like George Bush Sr., or maybe before that, they mentioned it. They've been talking about it. A new world order, new world order.
No, Nixon order. Was the first one to say it. Yeah.
Yep. New world order. And they've been telling us, and everybody's like, well, that's a new world order. And then you get people out here like Alex Jones who was telling you what it was, but everybody thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
Nixon said it in a speech, then George did it smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're successful with the New World Order, which we will be, he said it out loud.
They're telling you that this has all been planned out, man. It's been planned out from generation to generation. The dumber you make it each generation, the easier it is. So when it came to Gen X and elder millennials was very, very hard to get because we were feral as hell, man. We questioned everything as is. We questioned it at all. We're kind of like boomers, but we were a little more advanced than boomers. And then as the late millennials came and the Gen Zers came, they had all this technology that taught them everything, and that's what they go by with Google and all this other stuff. So it's easy to fool these people and they believe anything that they see. And they just quote what they heard on their TV as truth instead of
read a headline
or read a headline.
Do you guys remember when conspiracy theories were just fun little things you had with your friends?
Yeah.
Like you remember the good old days when like JFK and the UFOs and like
Area 51,
Bigfoot
and 9/11 and all this other stuff was just kind of like, okay, I get your point, but that's a little bit weird. Do you think they would really do that? And you're like, yes, now in 2023, yes, they absolutely would. Would they make drugs to give you and control your mind? Absolutely, they would. Would they lie about Area 51? Yes, they would. Will they tell you years later that aliens exist? And you're like, yep, they did that too. It's like all of the things that used to be kind of fun and kind of like wonky things you talked about when you got high or drunk is now real. And it makes me upset that I can't have fun things anymore.
I wasn't crazy. That's why I'm happy.
And the thing is like when people hear conspiracy theory these days, no matter how wild it sounds, don't laugh at the person because everything that Coy just mentioned, we were laughing at people for saying it. You're cuckoo, man. You're
just
crazy.
20 years ago.
Lo and behold, everything that we laughed at the people talking about it, my parents, my friends, older people that I know that were talking this stuff, we laughed at them, calling them crazy. And now look at us. So now listen to your conspiracy theory friends. You may think it's crazy, but never count it out. Don't count it out what they're saying.
Get your hat ready.
Get them hats.
We're running out of conspiracy theories to have for fun anymore. You know what I mean? Like they're starting to become too true, too funny, and too fast.
We'll start some new ones. It's okay.
Yeah.
I always consider Gen Z the people who are just as crotchety as boomers. We will still be getting off my lawn, people, but we'll be getting off your lawn with like remote control turrets. So like we're gonna have that Bluetooth turret and sky and cloud remote because we are technology savvy, but we'll still be sitting on our lawn waiting for like the satellite to snap you right off our lawn while we'll just be sitting there. Get off my lawn, and then you're like the Gen what do you call them now? What is it?
Gen Z?
Gen Alpha?
Yeah, Alpha, yeah.
Okay, so Alpha comes along and say, you don't know what you're talking about, old man, and decide to step on my lawn, and all of a sudden the blades of grass become actual blades and just sever the foot, and they're like screaming, ah! We're like, well, that's what you get for stepping on my lawn, little boy. And so that's how we'll be. I think we'll be one of the worst people on earth to mess with because we will have all the mindset of technology with none of the patience to operate it.
That's what I said. That's the thing with Gen X. I said we are boomers and millennials. We helped start millennials, but we came from boomers. We understand the old school way of doing stuff when we had nothing, and then we understand the new. So we're right in that middle. This is one reason neither one of those generations, boomers nor millennials nor Gen Z, mess with Gen X. At least the late millennials. The elder millennials are a little closer to us. But they don't mess with us. We're in our 40s.
We're like the Xillennials is what I think I fall under between
millennials,
where we had to still deal with 14.4 modems and yet still knew how to play, tag outside.
Yeah, right.
So
the last free range children, that's what I like to call them. The last of the free range, right? And you go out.
Marlon and I were feral.
So like you didn't come back in until the lights were on.
Everywhere was lights. Drank water wherever you saw it.
Yeah. Where are you riding your bike? I don't know. I'm riding to the county.
Going somewhere. Parents had no idea where you were.
No
There's
idea.
no phone.
But here's the thing. It's not that our parents didn't have an idea. Our parents knew that a neighbor 15 houses down would see us and tell them if anything stupid took place. This is what kept us in line. I'll tell you what kept Gen X in line. Gen X got kept in line by neighbors.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
You
true.
couldn't go down the street and play the fool and stone this and do that nonsense without the neighbor getting right on the phone, knowing who your parents were by your face. They knew you. They knew your mom, your dad, your grandma, your third cousin in a different state. Knew everything about you. You step down the street and do something stupid. Before you got home, mama's just waiting by the door with the belt, waiting for you. You're like, you were afraid to go home, but you had no choice because you couldn't go anywhere else to hide either.
But then at
All
the
the
same time,
neighbors would just take you right back to the house. So you couldn't run from the whooping, you couldn't escape the whooping, so you just stopped doing stupid stuff.
but at the same time, it was these same neighbors that you could ride your bike through their yard to get to your playground.
Yeah. They were friendly, but they were friendly within reason. They were friendly within, I'm not going to let you be an idiot and do stuff to embarrass your family because your family and I are friends. We grew up. We're not going to let you happen. So go ahead and play the fool down the street. I can't tell you how many times my mom knew a crap I did in school, thinking I just left school. Teachers won't know. I literally just left the school. Ain't nobody around to see. How the hell you find this out? Like, who saw?
Like, who told you? Yeah.
My grandmother would be like, Michael, come here, talk to me real quick. I was like, what
your name?
Where was you at? Was you at the mall? Did you ditch school? I'm like, no. Well, somebody said they saw you. And the thing in the neighborhoods, like, I grew up in Long Beach, California. And back then, in the 80s and 90s, the neighborhoods, like you said, everyone knew everyone. Everybody knew whose house is this, whose house was that, whose kid that was. And there were some neighbors you had cousins and aunties that lived down the street. You had a free range of butt whippings down that street too. So if you had an aunt that lived 4 blocks down and you was down there acting stupid, that was a free range butt whipping. And she called your grandma. Hey, I had to go and put my hands on Michael. What'd he do? He was over here acting a fool. Okay, good. He'll get it again when he gets home.
Right? It was double. So you just don't act up. Today, there's no consequence. There's no consequence for anything. That's the biggest problem. So, I mean, hey, look, it'll be interesting to see how this ends up. Whether it plays out that there'll be more riots, but I seriously think that everything that happens more and more, I'm convinced that we'll not see 2024 as an election cycle. Every day I'm more convinced of it by the things I'm seeing coming down the pike. It may. I'm not saying it 100% will not. I'm more like a 98% sure it won't, though.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
I honestly think, like we've been saying on this show for months. Marlon started it, and I've gotten more convinced as the months have gone on. But I really think that something huge is going to happen, and it's something that we're not even thinking about. I think something really big is going to happen. That's going to be the catalyst to it all. It's going to propel it, and it's going to be a snowball effect. Then that's going to happen. Then riots are going to happen. And then this is going to happen. And then another shooting's going to happen. And then the flu and all the whatever you want to call it, the COVID-18, whatever the variant we're on now.
No, it'd be COVID 23 or 24.
23 or 24. And then vaccine mandates and then shots. And it's just going to be so much stuff, man. Because the reason I'm thinking this, I was like, you got to look at inflation right now. It's getting so hard to afford food. It's getting to the point where people can't even buy it. At some point, it's going to get even harder to produce it. Because if people aren't buying it and they can't afford it, the people that produce it can't produce it. And then it's going to become very scarce. And then it's going to come down to you can't go into the grocery store unless you have your little COVID passport. And they're already pushing the passport. And then it's going to come down to that. And then it's going to come down to people rioting and people starving and killing each other. And just going to be chaos. Yeah. So start stocking up now. Be a prepper. Don't be afraid. Who cares who laughs at you? Listen. Right.
You remember Doomsday Preppers? You remember Doomsday Preppers?
And they used to be the crazy people,
laughing at. They were messed up in the head, and
now
ever since COVID, laughing. They probably in their basement laughing their behinds off, bro.
Like, ever since COVID, people looked at those and go, you know what? They probably were right.
They were ahead of the curve, man.
Yeah, here's the thing: it's like, Anthony Fauci is making rounds on news too because the rest of the world is finally catching up to what we had been talking about, that it came from a certain place at a certain time because of a certain person. They're finally learning that. And then like the in England, they're doing a little council or whatever, like an investigation in Parliament. And they're trying to skirt around what they're discovering, kind of like, well, kind of, it's not really, but it is. And they're like, everybody knows it is. And like, said conspiracy theories turning out true. Yeah, there you go. There's another one for you.
Cover his hide now.
They're finally catching up.
But just know, at the end of the day, good wins. I don't care how people feel, what's going on at the moment. At the end of the day, good wins. Promise
so.
you. We gotta ride it out. You gotta ride it out, and it's gonna suck, but we win. Remember
at the end of the day, it's night. Okay, just remember that.
Time is an illusion.
Well, it's relative. It's all relative.
It's a tangible illusion. I'll tell you that much because I'm feeling it. Okay, I can feel that illusion on my body every morning I wake up. So you can tell me illusion all you want, but
because you were programmed to feel it.
No.
Next time I'll make sure that I'll hack the program to make sure I don't fall on my behind and injure my back. How about that one? I'm gonna make sure I get into the program.
What is night? What is day? You ever have to work
dark
a
and
night
light?
Shift?
It's easy to answer.
You ever have to work a night shift, and your nights are your days, and your days are your nights?
No.
So you sleep all day, then you work. Well, not for you, but anyone had to work shift work where you work nights.
I've worked shift work, but it's still night, whether I believe it or not.
I'm just saying, this is where I'm getting at, Marlon. I'm not talking about how it looks in the sky. I'm talking about time in itself is an illusion. Because your nights
are sounding different.
Because your nights are your days when you work a night shift, right?
No.
Think about yes, they are. It's nighttime, so they say it's Marlon. I get that. I'm just saying, metaphorically, your nights are your days. Jake, come on, help me out here.
I could message this guy. No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
He's just pushing buttons.
Guys. I think one too many gummies maybe is what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
good idea for tonight. I don't have any.
In either case, guys, we'll catch you guys in a minute. We have Too Strong coming up. We'll be a half hour behind because he's picking kids up. So we will be on though at 8:30 Eastern. Make sure you be there. Tomorrow morning, Straight Talk will be back on. Of course, we won't have any Savage Patriots because it's a Tuesday. But look for a couple of videos to drop. We're trying to do more shorts and videos on there, so you guys have some content in between time. But other than that, if you guys do have content that you want us to cover, inbox us at thesavagepatriots@gmail.com, and we will be happy to take a look at it. The Savage Patriots, not Savage Patriots, the Savage Patriots at gmail.com.
Yeah.
If you send it to Savage Patriots, it'll go somewhere else. The Savage Patriots at gmail.com. And we will take a gander at your topics. Even if it's a conspiracy one, we can always tackle it on Rumble. So
right.
We'll be happy to take a look at it. So our merch is in our link at the YouTube store. Make sure you check it out. And we haven't done the new thought process that we have yet. I'm working on that. I'll probably get to that this weekend. Yeah, don't be a bottom B. I'm still trying to get my graphics right, but I won't be able to get to that probably till this weekend. So just hold out on that for a bit. So don't miss out on that. Make sure you go check it out. Do as much as you can to help us get ahead of the algorithm here on YouTube. We went up a couple of subs, which is good. We still need another
2,000 before
900 something. So get us there. Yeah, get us there, please. So Mr. Lee.
Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you all Wednesday.